Thank you, Congresswoman. At this time, I'd like to introduce Congresswoman Mazie Hirono, elected to Congress in 2006. She's now serving her third term representing Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives. The Congresswoman's district includes rural Oahu, the 7 neighbor islands, and the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. Congresswoman Hirono serves on 2 key U.S. House committees, the Committee on Education and the Workforce and the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. In November of 2010, Democratic colleagues unanimously elected Hirono to serve on the House Democratic Steering and Policy Committee. And in 1994, Hirono was elected and served 2 4-year terms as Hawaii's 9th Lieutenant Governor. Please help me welcome Congresswoman Hirono.
Well, good evening and aloha. Aloha. I like to start off that way because I think that when we invoke the spirit of aloha, that means that you'll be really nice to me, right? Something like that. Thank you very much. I want to go over 3 areas tonight. One is my background, because a lot of the reasons that women want to make a difference to the political arena has to do with our background. So I want to share a little bit of that with you. The second is why it is so important for women to be at the table. And that's one of the reasons that you all are here tonight, because you want to make a difference by being at the table, the women and the enlightened men that I see. The third is why it's so important for AAPIs, the Asian American Pacific Islanders, to be very engaged in this, probably the most important election facing our country. Okay, you got that? The first, my background. I have a very unique background in that I owe it all to my mother, who made a total difference in my life. This is why I know that individuals can make a difference. When I was almost 8 years old, my mother decided, through her courage and commitment and her desire for a better future for her children, she escaped a terrible marriage to my father, whom I never knew. He was an alcoholic and a compulsive gambler. There were many times in our family when we didn't have enough food because he was hardly ever home and he would gamble over everything. My mother made that decision when she was only 30 years old to bring her children to another place called Hawaii so that we could have a life. And I was almost 8 years old. We came on the President Cleveland in steerage with 1 suitcase. So very humble beginnings, but I watched my mother work really hard, put food on the table, roof over our heads. We moved about every 2 years because we were always renting. And she always wanted a little better place for us to live in. And by this time, my younger brother had joined us, so my mother raised 3 children all by herself. We brought my grandparents, whom I had lived with from the age of 3 to just before I came to Hawaii. My grandparents raised me because of our family situation. I think some of you, I see some heads nodding. I think that the immigrant experience or the experience of your grandparents or your parents coming to a new country, not knowing any of the language, and being, and having to acculturate, to learn a whole different way of life. That was my mother. That is what she taught me. She taught me that one person can make a difference. And ultimately, when I decided that I wanted to give back to my state and my country by running for office, because believe me, I never, in my wildest imaginations, when I got off from that President Cleveland boat, which is in La Paz, I'm not in La Paz, but the ship is. It was a long time ago, but I never would have dreamed that I would end up being in Congress. This is a great country. I wanted to give back. Turning to women, when women are at the table, we make a difference, don't we? Whether or not it's in the corporate sector, in the political sector. When I first ran for office in 1980, and I got elected to the State House of Representatives, there were only 8 women in the House of Representatives out of 51 members. I remember some of the women getting together and saying, we should create a women's caucus. Because there were a lot of issues that affected women, family leave, domestic violence, rape issues. And the guys, the men who were running the House said, you don't want to do that. Why do you want to be so divisive? We should all be working together. Needless to say, a lot of the issues that we cared about, the ones that I mentioned, never got anywhere. So those of us who were there, I think it took me 1 term, a 2-year term in the House to figure out we really need to band together. So I am one of the founders of the Bipartisan Women's Caucus in the Hawaii State Legislature. And lo and behold, when we got together and we had a package of bipartisan bills, these bills began to pass. Why? Basically, the men decided that if they wanted to be fair and they wanted to provide opportunities and be supportive, they better get with the program, and that program was what we came up with as part of the Women's Caucus. So it makes a difference. My mother made a difference, in my life. She was a woman, the second woman who made a difference, not just in my life, but to women all across our country, was Patsy Ming. And I'm proud to say that she was my friend, continues to be a mentor, and if you come to my office, hers is the one picture that I have in my office because she knew from first-hand experience what it was like for a woman to be, in her case, truly ahead of her time. She ran for the Senate, U.S. Senate. She ran for president. She ran for governor. She ran for mayor. She just kept picking herself up every time because her commitment was to serve the people of Hawaii. And Title IX, you all know Title IX, to me that is one of Patsy's greatest legacies, to enable women and girls to have equal opportunity in education and sports and education. I think that's one of her greatest legacies. And I know that she's looking down on all of us, my sisters, and saying, you go girls. So women at the table makes a difference. And in fact, I know many organizations that are totally geared to supporting women who run for office, and I'm also proud to say that I am the founding chair of the Patsy T. Ming Political Action Committee, which supports, in the state of Hawaii, progressive, democratic, pro-choice women for state offices. And they have always supported Hawaii on this side. So that's one of the ways that women come together and make a difference at the table. And just one more vignette. Were it not for the fact that our Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, is a woman, I doubt very much that on the world stage there would be a lot of discussion about the importance of economic opportunities for women all across our country. And in fact, Hillary was in Hawaii with APEC just recently, and once again, she took to the microphone and talked about how important it is to provide these kinds of economic opportunities for women, not just because it's the right thing to do, but guess what? When women's economic, entrepreneurial talents are unleashed, it makes a difference to every country's gross domestic product. So she said it's not just, because it's right, it truly is of help to the entire country. But I know for a fact that if she were not a woman, we would not be hearing about these issues. Just think about it. When was the last time you heard a male Secretary of State talk about how important this is to have women's voices in all segments of our society? Third thing, why is it so important for AAPIs to vote? Well, for one thing, I'm a Democrat. And I would say that when AAPIs vote, because of the kind of backgrounds we have, the kind of values that we hold that have to do with supporting families, supporting women, supporting children, that when AAPIs vote, they tend to vote Democratic. And when they do start voting, they continue to be voters. Voting is a habit. That is why it's so important in this election, 2012 election, when there is so much at stake in this country, for all of the kinds of